Good morning. Good morning. Sunday morning again. That almost 7 o'clock in the morning kind of thing. So glad you could join us, you know. We're just trying to have us a good time on a Sunday morning when we're all trapped in the house and we can't go to church. So we're going to church with you all here now. Good cup of coffee, good company. I got good friends. They're coming in the house. We're going to be seeing them in a bit. But before that, let's start it off right. You know what Grandpa says? If it doesn't begin right, how's it going to end right? So, start with a cup of coffee and a morning prayer. Mai kaunali'o, mai kaunalipo, mai kahikina, mai kaulana. Ye hele mai oi, e haku ai. Mahalo. Mai kaunali'o, mai kaunalipo, mai kahikina, mai kaulana. Ye hele mai oi atu ei, e hele mai e ku, a hina, a tangaroa. Atani, e hele mai e kanaha kalai e kanawai, e hele mai oi e au makua. Mahalo ke akua. As above, so below. May it be on earth as it is in heaven. Please, give us this day and forgive us. Please help us to forgive. Please, no temptation and no evil. Mahalo ke akua. May we be a blessing to each other. Mahalo ke akua. May you be a blessing to us all. Mahalo ke akua. Mahalo all our grandparents and great-grandparents. You know, our great-grandparents and our grandparents, they went through the Depression. 10 years of no food, lousy economy. And then they went through 6 years of a world war. 4 years for the Americans. But you know, they made it. They didn't have half the tools or half the technology we have. So we can make it too. So, everybody, lighten up. Let's enjoy our Sunday morning. We got some friends inside the house. We're gonna head in there. It's at almost 7 o'clock kind of time. And there goes the Hawaiian Airlines jet. Anyway, let's go. Sunday morning. See you inside.
Oh dear, giving in to all of their fears. Still my course remains clear. Pale listen to your words. I have heard the lies that come unbidden. Now I look into your soul for the answer that is in there hidden. And the counter of my mind says one truth.
Aloha kakahiaka. I love that song. Every time I hear it, something jumps out at me. And I just heard the Kauna of my mind. That is some deep stuff. Very deep stuff. Aloha and good morning and happy Easter. You're tuned in and watching live on YouTube, Hindsite 2020, and this is our third show. We're going to be joined by a whole bunch of friends on Zoom and also introducing our host, M. Kalani Souza, this morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Aloha,
Got
my
that
dear.
cup of coffee in my hands, Nothing quite like it. So, welcome to the living room set this morning with me and Caillou. Nice to start off in the morning yard and nice to be here with you this morning. So, like she said, loads of friends. It's a Sunday morning. Hey, we can't go to church, so we're just hanging out right here in the living room. Got the cup of coffee, got the church going on, and, we're kind of non-denominational. So we got everybody in the room and hoping to get even more in. So want to introduce this morning one of our co-hosts, Mr. Jimmy Love. Jimmy, good to see you this morning. What's up on the airwaves out there? Oh, I see. You got that R2D2 thing going on again. You got to pull and plug and redo your audio. It's doing it all over again. And while you're getting that set up, let's go to Garrett. Come on, Garrett. Introduce your family up there on the hill. Garrett's a Big Island resident who had an adventure just this last couple weeks.
Aloha, everybody. I've got Kaya, my wife, and Torin Alakoy here, and he's up early and probably down for a nap pretty soon. But we're here having a cup of coffee with y'all, and thanks for having.
Oh, perfect.
Good morning.
Yeah, and we always say it ain't for real unless we see the babies.
Thank goodness for the babies.
Yeah, Jimmy Love, you got your sound straightened out?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, you're sounding great. I don't know how you're
Jimmy.
doing that R2D2 impersonation. I give it. It's the rise of Skywalker. I get it. It's, they're promoing everywhere.
And there's one more person I'd like to acknowledge this morning.
Yeah.
Chris Schaefer in the
Chris
hot
Schaefer.
seat, creating all this magic you see right now.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
He's surrounding himself with buttons.
Cool as a cucumber.
Those of you who were there last week, Chris, swing that number 1 over to you. That way they got, we got you in the shot.
This is no small feat.
Yeah, not.
It's not. This is like high tech.
Camera's a little low. Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
You're brilliant, Chris. This is really high tech. It's amazing what you and Chris have created in your living room.
It's a little home studio. We always go overboard. We got no common sense that way. So when everybody had to stay home and use just their living rooms, we decided to create a community television station.
Yes.
And let's go to camera number 2, and I'll give it the unabashed plug. So want to thank the fine folks at the Olohana Foundation right behind us, as well as Pierre and Pam Omidyar, who through the Hawaii Community Foundation gave us a grant that assisted us in getting this community media station going. So thanks again to our sponsorship, Hawaii Community Foundation, the Omidyars, their grant funding that allows communities to participate in a more genuine way. And of course, the fine folks at Olohana Foundation, who, as you can see, are mostly young people who are just trying to make a difference in the world. And so how can you knock that? So, and in keeping with that, I want to let you know Jimmy Love is on the board of the Olohana Foundation.
Hey,
and we're glad to have him join us. So they'll get him shaking his head. Don't blame me for that mess. Yeah, so right now we're going to do something that we did the previous week. It's going to be a role by one of our roving sterling reporters in the state of Hawaii. Turns out we got reporters on every island getting us news clips and news stories. And we did this last week. We wanted to show you an unusual Waikiki. And we're going to show you another look at Waikiki this week. And what's different this week is we have a little bird who sent us the videotape. And and we're going to observe it. I think what's interesting to observe in this videotape, and I want to be joined by everybody. You're welcome to comment since we all know Waikiki. In this particular one, gee, that's... and that's okay.
While we're waiting for
we're
that
going to
video,
load it.
I have something I'd like to thank the Kona Holiday Inn. As far as I can tell, they're the first hotel to open to COVID. They're bringing homeless people into the hotel to stay at the hotel so they don't have to be on the streets. And that's here in Kona on the island of Hawaii. And I thought that was really encouraging. Hoping all of the hotels are going to follow suit and let people come and stay and have access to, a bathroom and a bed. And so kudos to the Kona Holiday Inn and their staff for opening their hotel. And as far as I can tell, that's the first hotel that I've heard of that's opening up their doors to the houseless people on the island of Hawaii over here in Kona. So big mahalos to that. Also, while we're waiting for the video to load so we can go cruise Waikiki, I'm so excited to go to Waikiki because, well, we've been in the house for weeks, but Waikiki is good fun. So while we're waiting for that to load, I also want to remind you can join us every Wednesday for Songs of Sovereignty, 9 a.m., for Kia'i News and more. And lately we've been focusing on all of the good stuff that people are doing and creating to get us through this time. Also focusing on the not so quarantined visitor industry and keeping tabs on that. So you want to join us on Wednesday. And in the meantime, if we're waiting for this, we're still waiting to load the video. Perhaps we could talk story with you, Jimmy, for a few moments. And tell us a little bit about your tenure on the board of Olohana, how you got involved with Olohana.org, and let's talk about what Olohana does. We're waiting for this video to load.
I've been sort of along for the ride. It's the best way to describe it. Met Kalani, I don't know how many years ago, 10 at least now. And it was kind of, as often is with Kalani, it was a sort of perfect storm of a meeting. And of course, we share a lot of inner soul. So it was easy for him to put a little snare trap out there and have me walk la 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 into the trap and get involved with Olohana, which was fine. It's been good. It's hard to describe exactly. I had 20 years on a school board where everything is very rules of Robert and by the book, and still allowing for, of course, vision and function. But Olohana and Kalani work on a much wider and spread out connectivity. And that's been fun for me because without being as formal, Olohana connects a lot of people together, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I became aware of Olohana in 2015, and it's amazing to watch these young people just take off and create these beautiful food forests, the videos that they're making, the victory gardens, all of the amazing things that the people that are involved in Olohana.org. What do you feel has been the highlight so far with your involvement of with Olohana?
Well, it's really hard to pick a highlight. I think the best thing, which you mentioned, is the young people are getting involved. I think that's got to be almost at the top of the priority list for Olohana, because we're going to be dead soon. Us old folks aren't going to be around that much longer. And more importantly, it takes all age groups to make a concession, a decision by consensus. And we need the young people. We need everybody, especially the young people, to be informed about what's going on and to spend as much time with politics, as scary as a word that is for some people, but honestly, it's the social air and we breathe and water that we drink. If you're not into politics, that means you're into sports or you're into some other thing. And instead of politics, and all I think we need to do is sort of just bring politics up to the same level as the things that distract us from what's actually happening to our lives. I guess my first primo with Kalani was
and tell us what primo is for those that don't know.
No, I need Kalani to do that. I'm an
Pacific Resource Indigenous Management Organization. Is that it? Did I get that? Nope. Primo.
Well, it's not
Pacific Risk Management Ohana.
Really interesting. It's on the sign right behind you.
Okay, Pacific Risk Management Ohana. Now talk about that time with Kalani that you went to that last primo.
Well, if you only know Kalani in the setting of hanging out at his house, playing music, you wouldn't know that he's actually extremely well respected across the nation from many places for his insight and his ability to speak about what he sees. And it was fun for me because I didn't know that, because he wouldn't tell, he doesn't talk about that part of it very much, or his persona in that arena very much. And so it was an eye opener for me. And he carries on that same conversational tone and that ease within his own skin there at the big conference as he does in the living room.
And he's sitting here right next to me. We're talking about him, but he's right here.
I feel like I'm with my mom. It's like, oh my, you're not supposed to talk about somebody if they're in the room. It's like, it's just not polite.
Well, but actually what Jimmy is saying is super true, because you and I can be talking story, dropping F-bombs, talking pidgin, and then we'll start talking about climate change and we go to this whole other language. You're very literate and you actually know what's up. Yeah. You're one of the few guys that really knows what up. If someone says something, I always am like, I'm going to check with Kalani first. Aren't you like that, Jimmy? I'm checking with Kalani first because he really kind of knows what's going on in the climate realm.
I got to tell you, whether it's climate or a social society, community, or education or economy, the secret is, I don't think I know anything, right? It's like, I'm pretty certain I don't know much about anything, right? I've discovered that I'm wrong 90% of the time. 9 times out of 10, if I open my mouth and my lips are moving, I'm probably wrong. So that's about the smartest thing my grandfather ever gave me. One time I rolled up to him and I was being all decisive about something we had to make a decision on down at the church. And I said, and I've decided, and this is it. And he said, oh, good. Oh, you decided. I said, yes, this is my position. And he said, oh, great. You owe me 359 degrees. What? He says, yeah, you only picked 1 point on the compass. So that's the way you're going to go. Where's everybody else going? He said, you owe me 359 degrees before you make up your mind about something. And he had a point, and it's borne out to be true. I've found a lot of times when I think I've made a decision about something, I, in fact, am just beginning to learn about it. And what I really need to do is stay open-minded, stay open in my heart, stay open in my stomach for sure. And hopefully the best will come of the situation. And that's all we can ask for. is that the best comes of a situation for us all. And I think the nation, the country, we're facing that right now with this pandemic. You know, I was just telling somebody yesterday told me it's pandemonium. I said, well, when it's pandemonium, you ought to man the podium. You know, you ought to be really clear about your messaging. You ought to say something. You ought to say something worth hearing. And I think in the country today, we're not necessarily hearing that. You know, we don't get solid messaging. We get a bunch of people complaining about fake news about each other. So we figured we joined the fake news party. And to that end, I want to actually go to Garrett, because to me, Garrett's story was one of the most interesting out of this entire thing.
Yeah.
What's it like to go on a dream vacation of a lifetime around Spirit and come back and find the whole world has, how to put it delicately, taking a shit and just like gone who knows where, right? It's like, so Garrett, give us a lowdown. Speak of you, baby.
Yes. Let me see if I can share you a little bit of what it looked like when we were starting. Can you see the screen?
We hope so. There we go.
Yeah. So clearly we were well supplied and ready for an adventure. You can see this is the top of Lee's Ferry. We're putting in the Grand Canyon, heading down about 200.
Sorry, Garrett, your
still?
voice selects your picture rather than the slideshow. So we're adjusting that right now.
Okay.
It's a sign screen. Go, Garrett.
So that was us getting started on the Grand Canyon, and we're heading out 250 miles in one of the most remote places on the planet, and
Double-click the screen.
heading into the 4,000-foot walls of the Grand Canyon. You got yourself ready for some of
You're
the
speaking, but we're looking
best
at
white
you.
water.
Now you go.
Some of the best whitewater, some of the best friends in the world. And when we started this adventure, it was March 3rd, and the world was pretty normal. Everything was feeling pretty good. I told Kai I would check in when we got halfway down. So we had a group of about 3 people that were leaving at Phantom Ranch, which is the only way you can get in and out of the canyon with supplies, essentially. And we were supposed to have 4 people meet us at that point, and only 2 were able to come down. The other 2 were stuck in Philadelphia, and they told us the only thing we got as far as information at that point was that the stock market had crashed worse than 87. And we kind of had seen some of that before we were going. Some of the markets were already in decline. We weren't entirely sure. And when you get information, and it's sort of like the ultimate telephone game, when people are just disseminating information through very short bursts, you don't know exactly what to believe. And so there's not a whole lot you can do when you're in the canyon, and you're on an adventure in a lot of ways. You have to survive down there. You have to ration your food. You have to make water regularly. The water temperature is about 40 degrees. The air temperature is really cold as well. It can get down to 40. And so it is, it's a lot of fun. We got plenty of beer and we're ready for that end of it, but it's a lot of survival. If you get caught in a flash flood and everything gets drowned out and rained out, you got to get on the river and you're going to be really cold. So hypothermia is a real thing. So you don't let the outside world doesn't really get to play too much of a role in what you're thinking about, especially when you don't have good information coming down. And so I'd gotten on the phone call with Kaya when I was at Phantom Ranch using a payphone and a calling card. I haven't done that in 10, 15, 20 years probably. And she and I were talking, and I said, oh, well, I'll check in occasionally using the sat phone. I'm not sure how well it works. And so 2 days after that phone call on the payphone, I called in and I said, hey, what's going on? How's it going? She's like, oh, the world's gone to shit. I was like, whoa, what do you mean? And So the canyon's got about 4,000 foot walls. And so depending on which way the river is flowing, either north or south or east or west, you might only have about a 30-second window for the sat phone to work. And so you get on the phone call, you get high, you get through the quick ones, and then you hear the world's gone to shit, and then the sat phone beeps off. And you sit there and you wait on a beach, and you wait, and you wait. And 20 minutes goes by and you still don't have any more bars on your phone. And you're like, what does she mean? And the other people in your group look over at you and they can kind of see that tension in your eyes. Like, what's going on with Garrett? What's going on in the world? And they're like, what did she say? And I'm like, well, I'm a little cautious to start, spreading misinformation, but it didn't sound great. And then a phone beeps up and we get a sat signal again. And I get back on the phone with her and she said, okay, well, I don't have a lot of good information, but apparently they've stopped all international flights. People are dying in Italy, and there's talk that California might close its borders. And then the phone shuts off again. And,
Sorry, it's just too funny.
So everybody in the group, we sat around and huddled up, and clearly we didn't have any other option. At that point, we had about 180 miles we had to go, and we had 10 days to go. So our pullout at that point was going to be at Diamond Creek, which is in the Hualapai Nation. There's different canyons, but the Diamond Creek pullout is in the Hualapai Nation's reservation. So you have to go through reservation land. You got to get permits and all that kind of stuff. So we were all set up for that, and that was our plan. Past Diamond Creek, you go another 70 miles, and that's where Pierce Ferry is, and Lake Mead, and that's the only other option. So 2 days later, I pull out the phone to check in with Kaya, and the phone beeps, and it says, Diamond Creek closed. You must proceed to Pierce Ferry. Call immediately. And at that point, we were 4 days from our scheduled pullout date, and that was going to add 70 miles. So we were going to have to be going 120 miles in 4 days. So that would have been about 30 miles per day. The Grand Canyon is pools, rapids. So you do a lot of rowing. It's not just floating and fast water. So we were kind of worried about having to pull 30-mile days. And so one of the outfitters had recommended that everybody just raft up after we get past Diamond Creek and float for the next 2 days, just overnight, and sleep on the rafts. That was their recommendation to us. And so we called the outfitter later that afternoon, and the Hualapai Rangers had agreed to let us and the other rafters pull out at Diamond Creek. And so that was really the only information we had gotten. And then I called back to Kaya, and she said, people are trying to get places and flights are getting canceled. There's a lot of concern. There's a lot of concern between borders. Some states, especially up in Washington, people leaving Seattle are getting quarantined. And she starts throwing out words that we hadn't really even heard before. Like, quarantine didn't really mean anything to us at that point. We're like, what do they mean by quarantine? Like, does that mean you can't go anywhere? Are you stuck in like a facility? Are you being in like a camp?
Well, that was it, wasn't it? That's the whole thing. Just to recap for everybody. So here's Garrett, brand new father, wife at home, brand new baby, goes on a dream vacation of a lifetime for an outdoor exploration guy. And halfway through the trip, the world goes into this pandemonium, as it were. And you just sort of discover this.
And you can't get out. You can't leave.
You can't. And you're getting back to your family, hopefully, and you're finding out that the whole world is shutting down transportation. So how was that? Pick that story back up.
So, yeah, that was very frightening. You have to decide in your mind that it's not something that you can do anything about, so it can't be something you can worry about too much. You really truly have to get back to the task at hand, and that's, we got to cook food, we got to make water, we got to navigate these rapids, we got to set up camp, we got to, we're also, why not? Let's have some fun.
We don't
have any other option. The rest of the world's going to we don't know where. So I think at this point it got really real for us because in the beginning part of the trip, we were noticing things in the sky, and planes were the obvious one. And we had seen the launch of Elon Musk's satellites, the Starlink. We had seen about 70 satellites fly overhead in like a pearl necklace kind of string across the sky.
Wow,
and
you mean
we hadn't seen them.
The 5G?
This new technology beginning to surround the planet thanks to all this private sector space enterprise.
So I can speak intelligently now since I've researched it since being back, but we were on the river and we saw about 70 bright lights in orbit. And if you were to put your finger up, they were spaced out by about a finger width apart. And they were coming across the canyon, and we saw them in one pass, and then we didn't see them again. And so, your mind's like, okay, well, I've never seen anything like that. 70, what is that? What just happened? And then the next night we didn't see them. And then the next night we didn't see them. And every night I was up and people were like, Garrett, you're not going to see them. Well, what were they? Like, can somebody please explain to me why we saw 70 lights in fashion moving across the sky? And so we didn't see those again. And then we stopped seeing planes in the sky. And right after we got the information from Kaya that California was going to close its borders and you couldn't fly to international flights, we didn't see any planes flying overhead for an entire day. And I don't remember the last time that had happened. Well, I do remember the last time that had happened, and it was September 12th, 2001.
Hello.
We were not seeing any planes in the sky.
Hello, and I think the airline industry has not taken a hit like this economically since 9/11, or I guess 9/12.
And it was kind of peaceful. We weren't sure what was really going on. To not see anything in the sky was it was really, really pretty. It was kind of scary, frightening. At that point, I really just wanted to get off the river and check in on the family. And I'm also very concerned that I might not be able to get back to Hawaii. And maybe I'm not even joking, but I thought about taking my boat, which is not designed to go across the Pacific. And I'm like, well, I know it. If I put 1,500 gallons of diesel on the back of that thing, I don't make it.
Yeah, I'm
talking to another guy on the trip, and he's got a blue water sailing boat. I'm like, what do you think, man? You want to go? He's like, not really.
Not fun this time of year for sure.
Yeah. This time of year, a little stormy the seas, but I'm glad you had that boat parked over there at the West Coast. You know what I mean? At the very least, I've been telling people, hey, when it hits the fan, you got to make your way to Santa Barbara and hijack somebody's boat and get across the ocean. You know, it's quite a new world we're living in. You know, and a brand new world. This isn't the only thing upset by this. It's not so much that your vacation was cut short, but it's just that we're glad to have you back, Garrett. It's nice to have you back on the islands. It's good you're up there with the babies and the wife and taking care of the animals and, on island and safe. That's important.
So how did you get back?
This is a place that you want to be. This is the place you want to be during all of this, for sure. But I also didn't, I didn't want to be, I was the most clean, probably the most quarantined person on the planet coming off of the river for 21 days.
True enough. There
was no interaction with the outside world. And so we felt kind of unique to be that. We were clean. No possibilities of having any of the illness. But then we had to go through
the airport,
international airport.
That's like I said, how'd you get back? What was the route back?
We got back into Flagstaff and unloaded all the gear, started making phone calls and checking flights, and everything was getting canceled. Nobody was answering phone calls. So it was really touch and go. All the flights that I had originally been booked on were canceled out of Flagstaff. So the van that was leaving for Santa Barbara right away with all the rest of the guys, me and a guy from Philadelphia, we went up to the airport in Flagstaff and I rented a car because I just we just got to have some mode of transportation right now. The airport at Flagstaff was totally closed down except for a couple people. Everybody was, and that was sort of our first interaction with people that have been going through this.
Right.
Because here we are, big beards, dirty, smelly, great head of atmosphere. We just had the best time of our lives going down the Grand Canyon, and being in the Grand Canyon with 12 guys and one girl, we were everything the world wasn't. We were eating out of the same Dutch ovens. We were pooping in the same can. We were not quarantined. I mean, we were our own quarantine unit, but like we were very much a community unit that was, if one of us was to get sick, the whole 12, 13 of us was going to go down. There was no
social distancing.
Yeah, no social distance at all.
No arm's lengths.
And now we're in this environment where everybody wants us to stay away, and like, we're also like very conversational. We're like, hey, man, what's going on?
Jazzed.
We're like, whoa. What are you doing? We're like, well, all right, so this is a different place. These are different times. And then when they hear that you were in the Grand Canyon, they're like, what happened? Like, well, we just came out. They're like, what do you know? We're like, we don't know anything.
Right, exactly. I mean, that must have been surreal in and of itself, right? It's like everybody reacting to you like, what?
God.
Did you crawl under a rock? It's like literally we were under a rock in the Grand Canyon. We had no idea.
In a big rock. Well, people look very scared. And I think it was multi. Like, they're scared because they've never seen everything shut down so quickly as far as business and commerce stuff. But I don't think people knew exactly. And that was kind of the weird thing for us, is we'd heard all of this. We'd heard plenty of reports that things had been closed, the flights were being canceled, that you couldn't go here, you couldn't go there. But I was like, well, what's up with this virus? Like, what's really going on? And like, we don't know. Like, no one knows. Like, can you get it twice? So like, we don't know. Like, is it spreading through the air? So two of my friends that were on the trip are nurses in Santa Barbara. So when we got back in the van and got into cell phone service, their phones blew up because they're actually in the unit of the COVID unit in Cottage Hospital in Santa Barbara.
Heavy.
So all of their friends are like, their coworkers are saying, you guys got to get back. Like, we need you. And then they're also saying that people in wards of the hospital that aren't being in direct contact with COVID patients are getting sick. And so she said to us, there's really good reason to think that this is airborne, and there's aerosol, but they're carrying it. And then we all just got like incredibly worried. We're like,
and I mean, that's the idea of a communicable disease, right? Is that it has community source spreading. There's no way to stop it. It's airborne. It's in the community. It's going to be spread in the commons.
Yeah, that was scary. And then they were driving back. So me and Jack, the guy from Philadelphia, bought the car, and we called a bunch of places to try to find if we could get masks for flying, and they didn't have any masks anywhere in Arizona. Not even flags. I mean, nowhere. So we were in a Target, and Jack went to he went and got a HEPA filter for one of those air machines.
Yeah.
And it had viral capability, where, it was just a cotton thing with viral capturing capabilities. I don't know how to say that properly, but so we took that and we cut it up, and we all had ski masks because we were in, it was 30 degrees. Right. So we stowed them into our baklavas, and that was how we got into the Flagstaff and Phoenix airports. Wow. And we were just bundled up. And it was a little bizarre for us because no one else was doing this. And so we said goodbye, and then I went over to the terminal where my flight was going to leave to Hawaii in about 8 hours. So I had 8 hours in the airport.
Right on.
And it was like 6 a.m, and I hadn't eaten really. And I'm like, I'm just not going to eat. I'm not going to touch anything. I can't go near anything. Just stay away from everything. Go find a spot in the airport where no one's going to come by, and just hang out and don't touch anything.
I'm glad you're home, Garrett. We're glad you're back, man. We're glad you made it back to Hawaii safe and sound. This is the best place for us to be, definitely. You know what I mean? And especially in these changing times and changing world. So thanks for joining us this morning and giving us your story, man. I really wanted folks to see that people are really having a different experience of this. It's not the same for everybody. Mm-mm. It's quite different. I mean, some people feeling cooped up in their homes. I understand in some counties in the country, domestic violence has jumped.
Oh, gosh.
Because people are trapped in their homes.
I have a girlfriend. My girlfriend Brandy was living in Vegas to escape her batterer. And she went through, she wanted to come home with her kids. She was like, if something happens to me, my kids are going to be stuck in Vegas. So she did a 14-day quarantine. And then she went ahead and came home and did another 14-day quarantine. Meanwhile, everyone's treating her like a pariah because she's come from Vegas. But she did it at the same time you did, Garrett. Everyone needed to get where they were going to be. And now at this point, it's going to be even harder for people to get to where they need to be with their families and stuff. So lucky you got home, brah. Really lucky you got home.
Yeah, and the one thing I wanted to mention is that, and I'm going to share this picture, is that the people that were on my flight it was a combination, but there were people traveling for fun to the islands.
Yes.
And I think it got a couple of us really upset because I was like, I just got to get there to my family. I'm not trying to go there to have fun. Like, you guys can't be doing this. And there are families, no protection, treating it like it was going to be a vacation for them. Mm-hmm. And that was really, really frustrating to see that. And then when I got off the airplane, see if I can we'll go through here. I got to the airport and I stripped all the way down, took everything off, put on boardies, and was in Nakona. I was standing outside of the Nakona airport in board shorts, and I put all the clothing into a plastic bag and put all my baggage into plastic bags. Right on. And went to the bathroom and just cleaned up with soap. I washed my phone down with soap. Everything was soap. And then, got back home and I was like, just went straight to the laundry room, put everything in the wash, went and took a big shower, cleaned up, and then I thought, well, am I going to quarantine here for 14 days? What I'm going to have to do. So, I think it's important for us that we're trying to get back here.
That's the right thing. It's the right thing. That's a smart thing, Garrett. That's why we love you. You know what I mean? That's the smart thing. My dad used to say, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. So... this idea of being safe, you know what I mean, of taking precautions. I got friends, they're all conspiracy theorists, right? They're all, it's just, yes.
Jimmy's thinking
it's a
something.
Conspiracy. Yes, it's probably the government, but that doesn't mean the virus won't kill you.
What you thinking, Jimmy?
Let's be smart. Jimmy, in this changing world, I wanted you to tell us all about how it's changing everywhere, particularly in politics with some of our favorite candidates.
He's got something on his mind.
Well, first I wanted to ask you, how come we didn't get video of the shower part? So
here you go.
Cut that video. Cut that feed.
Okay.
So
here you go.
So the world is changing, as we know.
There he is.
So that's prettier than Garrett.
That was the shower you were not wanting to see, though.
Yeah, that is definitely the shower we were not wanting to see.
So I just want to, let's just jump topics here and talk about a little bit of the Bernie phenomenon. And of course, the most important thing about the Bernie phenomenon is the slogan. Not me, us.
Yes.
And here's a guy who's told the same true story since he got into politics. And his slogan is the most truthful that you could come up with, which is, it isn't about him. It's about enough people waking up and seeing what's going on instead of watching sports or whatever. I watch sports, but let's wake up. Okay, folks, there's more to life than shopping and sports. And so he suspended his campaign. And of course, establishment media jumped on that. He's given up. Our guy Biden is in there. 4 more years of Trump. It's like, anyway, I don't want to get too far into that, except what I want to say here is the thing that people I think are missing is, first of all, we have shoveled through decades of shit forever. That hasn't changed.
Yes.
And what's happening, I think, I'm amazed nobody's mentioned this, but the first woman president of the United States could also be the absolute youngest president of the United States. Because guess what, folks? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez turns 35 in October 13th, 2024.
I love her.
Which is several months before she would assume office. Because you got to be 35, right?
Yes.
I love her.
And,
yes.
And we would go from the oldest, most game show ridiculous president to the youngest, most grounded president we've had in a long, long time.
Yes.
I like that concept.
There's my prediction for 2024.
Yes, I'm going to visualize it with you, Jimmy. I love her dearly. I pray for her every day when I chant. I pray for her.
I mean, it would be nice to see young women come into the leadership profile, literally come to the forefront.
Absolutely. I mean, who can argue with somebody who's slogged drinks through a bar in New York to make her way to Congress? I mean, this girl knows the real world.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being an old mixologist and bartender, I can attest to the fact that sitting behind a bar mixing cocktails, you actually learn a lot about the human race.
Absolutely.
I still am a bartender.
Hey, I bet you all the bartenders knew who was going to be president 4 years ago.
Oh yeah. They weren't fooled by the exit polls.
No, or by the establishment media, who, unfortunately, I've quoted Chomsky before, but what he says is true. In a totalitarian system, you just throw people in jail, shoot a few of them, and everybody falls in line. In a democracy, you have to control how people think in order to have the desired outcome. And a desired outcome, folks, in case you're coming late to the program, is corporations had a successful coup of America more than a few years ago. And we are doing the bidding of the ultra rich, putting representatives in place for them as opposed to being representatives of the people.
Spot on, Jimmy. And I think somewhere around 1980, somewhere around the Reagan years, when they sold the country down the toilet. And it's so interesting. Here's Jimmy Carter setting up solar energy in the White House, talking about the oil addiction. Right? The oil companies get behind Uncle Ronnie Reagan, and these guys all pretend he's the greatest president in American history. When in fact, it's at that moment that Eisenhower's prophecy comes to fulfillment, and the military-industrial complex takes over government spending, A8, super A8, non-bid contracts to huge corporations, and they impact families like Garrick's, like yours, like Caillou's, like mine, and we speak not about that in the Senate at all.
Censorship by omission.
By omission.
Yeah. So,
and now they're trying to omit Bernie from the process, correct? Because my understanding is Bernie did not drop out of the election. Bernie is suspending his campaign so as not to have crowds of people, but is in fact still on the ballot and still in the running.
I know. I saw a tweet from Kauai's prosecuting attorney, Justin Collar, and he's already corralling people to vote for Biden.
Yeah, right.
He's already taking people down that road, and Bernie's still in the running.
Yeah.
So you see, yeah.
Well, it's about who's going to carry corporate water. And, the fact is that while on one hand, it looks like Trump will run right over the top of Biden. Well, you know what? We don't know how elections really happen. I mean, it's obvious they're screwing with elections just with gerrymandering and making it difficult for people to vote and all that way. I mean, forget about Russia. We've been screwing with elections long before anybody ever mentions possible Russia bullshit. And maybe because Trump is more reliable to carry maybe because Biden is more reliable, more steady of a water carrier for the corporations, hey, he could win. But that's not a win for us.
Right.
That's the same old shit coming down the pike. And what we got to do is continue to organize, continue to have younger people with the right ideas running for Congress. And then 2024, the sun comes up on AOC.
That's right. And, hey, Garrett, nothing personal, but maybe you ought to think about running for office.
Not for me.
You mean you're no pilautician?
No pilautician. I just wanted to add to what Jimmy was talking about. I wanted to say this because I was listening while you're talking. As a Native person, I was born and taught that I was an American. Didn't know I was a Native till, I don't even remember. I think it was 1993 when Haunani Trask stood on the palace steps and said, "We're not Americans." I went, "Oh, that's what's wrong with me. Now I get it." So here's the thing that's hard for us Hawaiians, our Kanaka group, okay? Because when statehood happened, I remember my mom told my grandparents, "Oh, so what does that mean?" She goes, "Oh, we're going to get federal funding." My grandpa said, "We're going to get funding for highways and we're going to pay taxes." And so my mom was little, right? She's like, "Oh, I don't know what that means." "Okay, we're going to have highways." Okay. So as we're growing up, we're waving our American flags. Everyone's sending their kids to join the military. We're all supporting the United States of America. But the problem is, whoever the president has been since history began, has always put Native people last. It doesn't matter who gets in there.
Well, you mean never mattered that they had the African-American guy in there?
Well, but he also blew off the people at Standing Rock. He visited Standing Rock.
I see. So then he backed the Oprah crowd, but he never backed the Native crowd.
Right. So for us Native people, it's just all more bad news. It doesn't matter who goes into office to us Natives, because we're still going to have pipelines forced through our reservations and our homes. We're still going to have everything stolen from us that's not nailed down around here. So how do we come to terms with that, Jimmy Love?
Well, just ask the white guy. That's boy, is that unfair?
Who else are you going to go to?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just saying, let that be a lesson to you, Garrett.
So now how do we move forward? And I think that you're right with Alexandria. And I think that everything that's happening right now is the opportunity to move forward and change it up so that all us Kanakas can confidently go vote, knowing that they're going to stop ripping us off and making us live in our cars anymore.
Yeah. So here we have let's back up and look at the big picture just for a second, because for thousands of years, the game has been, who's going to rule the world?
Right.
Ew.
And now here we are where the world has gotten too small because of all the people. And now what we desperately need is a new way of thinking about how to share the world, how to create a Garden of Eden, so to speak, for everyone. Everybody does better when everybody does better.
I love the Garden of Eden on Sunday.
Forward.
Yeah.
I love the Garden of Eden references, Jimmy. So you just keep on going there, pal. You're preaching to the gospel choir now.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
can I add something there, Jimmy?
Yeah.
I just think it's important for everybody to remember that media is a wonderful tool for getting information. It's also a wonderful tool for manipulating people.
Yes.
We have to have our guards up.
Absolutely.
It's like when you have a friend you really like, but they have a penchant for stretching the truth or outright lying. In spite of that, you feel safer with them on your side than you feel with them against you. So you tend to be open to their BS.
That's such a nice way to
Garrett,
put it.
Jump in there,
Go,
baby.
Garrett.
Well, yesterday, last night, we did a Passover Seder dinner and talked about some of the things that we were looking forward to, maybe the things that bring us together, because that's sort of what this holiday is passing over some of our transgressions and maybe moving into something different, maybe something better. So to your point, Jimmy, I think what we do best as humans is we come together when times are really, really tough, and when people need a hand. We do actually come together really well. And then there's those of us that take advantage of those opportunities, and those people they'll always be greedy, they'll always be murderous, they'll always be the worst of us. But I think as a whole, our intuition is to help. So maybe amidst this crisis of so many proportions and so many ways you can slice why we're here, but I think if we can come together on a common goal, and that's to do something good, then we can have some sort of like revolution in power and revolution in thinking. And I think that's truly the problem. And I think AOC is an opportunity. I think young people, maybe young people of color, young people of indigenous nations, they need to be the ones coming through this next round and running for office, and they are, and get the change coming through the people that are in the office, because that's our opportunity as a democracy. Yeah, there's a lot of ways you can manipulate a democracy, as we can see, but the opportunity in a democracy is that the people do have the chance to be the ones in charge.
Agreed. I agree, Garrick. I totally agree. And it's refreshing to see and hear that from many different parts of the wheel. Many different degrees in the 360 are beginning to coalesce around this idea that a great change is coming. And we do this Sunday morning show to have exactly these conversations, that we're still community, we're still connected. The social distancing, it should not stop us from continuing to create our communities, to create the strength of conversation, of collaboration, of compassion. And I think that you nailed it, Garrett. Humans are giving and caring and compassionate, and will respond in a positive way, even with these external pressures, So, hey, Chris, I don't know if we got that role yet. And I also wanted to give a look at Chris and have him chime in, because, Chris is our residential cultural anthropologist from Purdue. So, Chris, what are you seeing out there?
It's, whenever people come under pressure, the best and the worst comes up out of them. It's a great opportunity to learn about ourselves and about our community. And I also am finding in myself, I have a fair amount of judgment for how other people are reacting to things. And I've actually learned a lot about myself in picking apart that judgment. Because, it does bring out the worst in us at times. So it's like, oh, hey, there's my worst. Hi again. Let me take care of that while I have the opportunity.
Nice, nicely done. So, Chris, I don't know if we got that little clip up and running there, but be interesting to take a gander at this. Caillou and fellas, let's go cruise Waikiki. Wow.
Oh, I wish I could go surf right now.
So I wanted to say, I ain't seen, this is clean surf.
I've never seen it like this, ever.
Right, this is where Hawaii Calls used to broadcast directly from the shore, right here where we're looking at with the cocoa trees. Wow. They tore down the Queen Surf Hotel. You could see Kupiolani Park and Diamond Head or Leahi in the background. Wow. I have not seen the beach that empty.
Wow.
Ever.
That's like when my great uncle was alive. When he was a boy, he grew up in a house where the Royal Hawaiian sits now. And it was just all banana trees. He told me about it years ago. And that's what it feels like. It feels like somebody turned the clock back 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, what I wanted to bring your attention to is, you see that police car? There's one of Honolulu's finest right there. Let's go catch up with him. Now that police car is going to try to convince people that they should be off the beach. Of course, at this point, what
Yeah.
you got is the errant tourist that has no restaurants, no shops, no nothing to go to. So they got nothing to do but come out of their hotel room and walk down on this beach. And then you got the locals who are out trying to get some fresh air and exercise.
And want to swim
Absolutely.
in an empty ocean. We've never been allowed to have our beach.
Yeah.
Right now,
You
now
know?
watch this poor police officer as he goes down and he tries to approach people and tell them to get off the beach with his car. But everybody simply is keeping their social distance from the police officer.
So they just start running
Yeah.
towards the water.
So he doesn't actually get to talk to anybody because they all move away from his car at a distance of 10 feet.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
So why the heck hasn't somebody filed suit yet to get these administrators to manage the beaches rather than shut them down?
Right, they absolutely, I mean, these would be essential personnel, right? But
I
as
think-
you can see, essentially, the essential personnel is running around, trying to find somebody to talk to.
And they're driving on the boardwalk.
Hello. As if they're not offering yet another threat to the pedestrians.
So cuckoo. It's all so cuckoo, but we're laughing, and it's good to see your smiling faces
One thing
this
I
morning.
do want to point out is look how clean and beautiful the water
Oh
is
my
looking.
gosh, I'm dying.
Yeah.
I wish I could jump in right now.
What happened to all the suntan lotion on the surface?
I don't know. Usually those of us who know, right, we've been there over the last 25, 30 years. We've seen that little oil slick of suntan lotion grow there on the South Shore. And I'm looking and wow, I don't see it. It's clearing up.
Yeah.
Turns out a week with the beaches closed is a great thing for Waikiki.
Wow, just amazing.
I mean, even the sand looks cleaner. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, there's no people on it.
Right, this
Wow.
poor police officer. Watch. Oh, look, people congregating by the tree. That's the old banyan tree that used to be by the how bushes.
All
of
the
old
kids
Queen
climb
Surf.
on it.
You can't have congregation by the tree. So let's get over there, police officer, and break it. Oh, they're
They're
dispersing.
scattering.
Oh, now what's he gonna do? Right? It's like, should he get out of his car and chase everybody down,
He's
put them in a
driving on
group,
the park.
and tell them, hey, don't gather in a group, everybody? Is that what we should be doing? So here's the city and county of Honolulu, hard at work.
I think a class action suit against Governor Ige for war crimes against humanity.
Oh wow. Well, Ige,
Yeah.
he's got a lot to answer for
Yeah.
later. The poor
I
guy.
think it's time to start. The crimes against humanity are huge here. And I
Oh, well,
think
I'm
it's
just
time.
thinking about, the $2.7 million or whatever it is that they unpacked from his tax returns that came from
the billions spent
the
on arresting
the
Kupuna.
TMT
Yep.
corporation paid him for security on the telescope. Really? When did the governor get into
And
the
then
security
we don't have
business?
COVID testing.
Right.
So I think that's going to be happening very soon.
I'm
that
afraid, as
the people
Jimmy
are coming.
pointed out, in 1980, the culture of America became one of the bottom line of profit only. And you can tell that because following Reagan was Hiram Walker Bush, who famously said, it's the economy, stupid.
Hiram Walker
and
Bush.
they just keep on the economy mantra as we
Yeah.
move forward. And I got to tell you, Bill Clinton was no,
He's the
cakewalk.
guy that
I mean,
delivered
this guy
us,
went after the
singular-
economy in the worst way. Yeah,
He's the guy that delivered us, the consolidation of all the media happened under his watch.
right. I mean,
They-
what happened in Haiti, what happened in the Caribbean under the Clinton administration should be considered war crimes economically. And somehow he goes down there with the foundation and wants to be lauded as the savior of the Caribbean island. I don't get it.
Have another cigar. Let's go back to something more pleasant.
Jimmy, naughty man. We're running out of time. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
And she's not talking about the show. She's talking about the country, I think. We're running out of time.
So true.
There's not a lot going on except every Sunday. Every Sunday we can get together and chuckle about these things because, say the truth, It's really
love
not
thy
about
neighbor.
all of that. It's really about all of us staying connected, being community, working together to create
Absolutely.
a more sensible, more collaborative, more compassionate world. So let's go round the horn and have everybody say goodbye. Start with you, Garrett. Thanks for joining us.
Yes,
Want to
Garrett,
thank that beautiful
mahalo.
wife and baby of yours.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This has been great, and I'm glad to be back on the island with the family and connecting with you guys.
Solid.
Stay healthy, stay well.
Hey, Garrett, I want to say mahalo to you. There's a lot of young men that are like you that are really fit, and you see them in videos and stuff. They're running around and doing the exact opposite of what you did when you came off the plane. You know, guys, that there's a lot of young people out there that think they're invincible, right? And so they think, oh, this is just my cheap vacation. I don't have to worry. You did everything correct when you came home. So thank you so much for caring for your ohana, for your community, and most especially yourself and your family. I just wanted to, because I see lots of video and pictures of young guys like you out there every day doing really dumb things that they're not supposed to be doing. So you're a great example of how to conduct yourself, young people. Right now, this is not a free-for-all.
Wait a minute.
right?
Are you saying that young white males between 20 and 40 do dumb things?
Well, some of the videos I've seen, most recently, a guy that plays for Ohio State, a football player, his video's been going around and stuff. And so you see these athletes and stuff, and they're like, yeah, I'm on my vacation.
I hate to say this, but ever since the Panty Christ was elected for
Yes,
talking
the
about bad
Panty
presidents up the line, I think it's almost a sign that the evangelical community is following the Panty Christ around. It almost confirms the times we're in,
Isn't that come?
Anyway, mahalo, Garrett.
Yeah, there we go.
Hello, everybody. And this is
Aloha.
the son of Torin. He's saying goodbye.
And Torin, that's the reason we do what we do is these
Everything
little
is
guys.
for these guys.
That's right.
Yep.
He's got his Easter outfit on. He's ready to go.
He's looking like an Easter egg. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Jimmy, send us home.
I just want to remind everybody to turn off their TVs sometime during the day, go outside, breathe some good air, and love thy neighbor.
Oh, love thy neighbor. That's a good and find an egg if you can find an egg. Happy Ishtar Day, happy Egg Day, happy Rabbit and Fertility Day, everybody.
Yes.
Hug a fruit tree.
Yeah, absolutely. Resurrection is something that is not confined to any one religious theological philosophy.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, resurrection
We're all
is something
brothers
I
and
hope to
sisters.
do every morning.
Ha. Well,
Aloha.
aloha to you, Jimmy and Garrett, Kalani. Love you dearly.
Love you,
Another
sister.
great show, and we just want to thank you all for joining us this morning on Hindsite 2020. Hope you enjoyed, and you can share the link with your friends around the world. They can come to our little corner of the world for a few minutes on a Sunday to join in our convo and see what we're thinking over here in Hawaii. Remember to join us on Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. for Songs of Sovereignty. And to all of you that are supporting the links, sharing the good news that we now have a chance to be human beings again. That's what I want to leave you with. We no longer have to be a bottom line. We no longer have to be a computer link or a URL. We no longer have to be a number. We can actually be human beings, what we were created to be. And one last thing I'm asking of all of you. Visualize with me every day, first thing you get up. Abolish RIMPAC. No more RIMPAC in Hawaii. Visualize them not coming here anymore. No more military war games. No more RIMPAC. World peace. We're heading towards world peace through all of this horror. Namio Horenge Kyo. Thank you for joining us this morning.
I'm reminded that when it comes to good taste and fun with your intimate loved ones, the word rim and the word pack should not be involved.
Gross.
I'm just saying. Just saying.
Yeah.
You know, they could have named it better. Rim pack is too descriptive of what happens to our islands every time those guys move through.
Well, we talked a little bit last week about using telepathy. And we talked about how our minds are really strong. So we can visualize in our prayers what we want to have happen. And that's what I want to really leave you with, besides the rim pack.
And let's leave them with a prayer this morning.
Let's do a
It's
prayer.
Sunday morning, and we should all be kind to one another. So get out there, do your best, as Jimmy says, to do something nice for somebody. Aloha, everybody. We'll see you next Sunday.
Pray for the rain, for the early snow. Pray there's a God up in heaven, a fallen angel below. Pray for the road less traveled, unravel the things you know. Pray for the working class hero. Pray for the water, for the healing spring. Pray for the wind through the treetops when the forest sings. Pray for the crying babies or the crying shame. Some of us will never pass this way again. Pray every step I take will one day lead me home. Pray the mistakes I made ain't set in stone.